Does anybody happen to have one diopter reading glasses on them? One?
Aha! Thank you.
But you'll need them too.
Yoshiko, see if they're not too strong. They're too strong.
What do you need?
It's all right. I'll just hold these the right way. Thanks anyway.
They are coming.
All right. So, good yontif, good yontif, good yontif. What's wonderful is that we are starting at this time. We've had a session before in which we were preparing for Pesach. You want this to come a little closer. And Michael doesn't want it to be a little closer. So between, I think now we have it just the right way. And what's so wonderful about the time we are in is that we are counting every day Sephira. And I'd like to bring you into that a little bit. It says that from Passover until Pentecost. What does that mean, Pentecost? It means 50. And it's like 50 days. And that's what it says in the Chumash in the Bible. It says, Usfartem lachem mimochot ha-Shabbat miyom haviachem et omer ha-Tenufa Sheva Shabbatot temimot tiyenu ad mimochot ha-Shabbat ha-Shvi tisperu chamishim yom. And I will translate. For 7 days, for 7 weeks, you are to count up to 50, and not 50 included. We count 49, and that's 7 times 7. And anybody who has been dabbling with anything having to do with Kabbalah knows that the number 7 is a very strong number here. And someone once asked me, where do you think that the 7 comes from? I mean, 10 is easy, you know? And even 12 is easy if you have to have 6 fingers. There are some people who had 6 fingers. But how do you get to 7? Because every time you look at a face, you see the 7, the constellation of the 7. 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, and a mouth. So everything goes into those 7s.
And my teacher, Joseph Campbell, would say that 7 has to do with the Trinity, which is a very archetypal form, and the square.
And together, if you look at the 3 and the 4, and if you've looked at the tefillin, which we wear, the phylacteries, it sounds like a dirty word. It's a Greek word describing those leather boxes that we wear when we daven during the week. And this week we are not wearing them because it is a half holiday and we are still in the middle of Pesach. So each week has one characteristic emphasis. This week, the emphasis is on generosity. Just for the Sufalach, I want to say that we are dealing with 7 vazifas during this period. And this week it is Ya Rachim. And next week it'll be Akbar. And Rahman is the 3rd week. And Mansur is the 4th week. And Jamil is the 5th week. And Wadud is the 6th. And Ya Malik is the 7th. So you have them all here now translated into a different idiom. So what we're doing is that every day we are counting one of the 7s of the 7s. So it is the week of generosity. Yesterday, the first day when we counted was the generosity of generosity. And the second day was the rigors, the severity of generosity, tough love. And today is the compassion of generosity, the balance of generosity. So that's a wonderful, wonderful time. As we count it, we say each time, at the end of the counting, that this is supposed to be achieving something for us. And the very last statement that you have over here goes, Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Through the counting that we are doing, and through all the good deeds that we are doing, we are making sure that there should come down a great flow of goodness and blessing into all the worlds from above. The notion behind this is that when we do an act that is commanded by God, it reaches up. It is called the arousal from below. We are doing something that God commanded us to do. And that generates that there comes back to us an arousal from above. And if you notice, the language that's being used is often a very erotic language, because another way in which the Zohar expresses that, it calls the arousal from below, it calls it the female fluid. And when it talks about the arousal from above, it calls it the male fluid. So you can see that this deals with this kind of a union. And I think one could say that when is the world in a good, harmonious, happy place, when those two aspects of the divine, the masculine and the feminine, are together and offering what they can. So the melody that Hasidim sing for this statement, let the flow come down, from above through what we have done, goes like this. Let's see an A minor. And now look at the transliteration, because transliterating Hebrew is a strange thing. Even I were talking about how do you do that, because English is so funny with its vowels. Take the word bear, T-H-E-R-E, and take off the T, what have you got is here. So the E has gotten from E to E. Take off the last E and you get her. See how much that changes? So how are you going to spell out in vowels that will match the Hebrew? So we did the best. So you listen and then you'll see what I mean by it. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. And all the people who sit and expect for us to perform and are singing not and are quiet, they're not doing it right, so you've got to sing along. And this is the reason why I gave you a paper, so that you will see how to say it, even if it sounds funny. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Ve'al yedei zeh yushpa shefa rav, yushpa shefa rav bechol ha'olamot. Hold it. I see some of you haven't gotten it yet. Because what's the use you know, we have been doing these Niggunim together for a particular reason. And for me, the important part of that is not to teach you a lesson in Hasidic music, but rather to give you tools that would be useful for your devotional life.
Do you mind my fingers?
Huh?
Do you mind my fingers?
Not at all. Thank you. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Let me say something else. There is a physiological response that when you do something that you feel is right, where your whole body is saying, "Atta boy, atta girl, you did it," yeah? Then you get the endorphins to come. For spiritual endorphins, you sing Al Yedei Zeh, okay? So imagine you have done an act of charity, you have done something good, you have done some study, you have done some meditation. Most of the time, when people go away from it and just switch without closing it off, it means that you haven't pushed the enter button, you know? What happens when you do something like this and you don't save? It isn't going to be on your hard drive afterwards. You want it to be on your hard drive. So let's learn how to sing it right.
Remember what it means. Remember what it means. By this means, we provoke an outpouring of great abundance in all the worlds. So you can't creak like that, you know?
So it's not even selfish, you know? You're sending some, when you're saying assigned merit, it's very much that kind of thing. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal Rivlin, Yushba Shefara, Yushba Shefa Shefara bechol ha'olamot. Good. Yesterday, in synagogues, besides the regular reading that you do in the Torah, we read an extra book that is a very beautiful and strange book. In fact, that if, let's say, the people in Colorado Springs, the family and so on and so forth, people, would have voted whether this book should be included in the Bible, they would have said obscenity, pornography. It's the Song of Songs. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way in which it speaks about the relationship of two lovers. And what can I say? In Judaism and Christianity, they have been reading this book always with levels of interpretation to say it doesn't mean what it says, you know? It means something higher and greater. And the truth is that this is so, but not unless you recognize it, for word is grounded. It is grounded in our bodies, it's grounded in our feelings, and that's where we begin. So, there is, and I don't have these words here for you, but we have sung it before, and so you may be able to remember it. The words are Bati Legani. It begins with, behold, he stands behind the lattice. He looks through the shutters of the window. What does he want? He wants to be able to say, I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride, my beloved. There I have poured out my beautiful scent, my honey. And then it goes on to say, what was the third line?
Ariti Mori.
Yeah, I never said. That's right, I forgot that one. The voice of my beloved, it is knocking on the door, and it says, open up to me, my sister, my bride, my beloved. You know, it says, invite me, invite me. And you can understand how, for mystics, that immediately meant that God is sending us an invitation to come and meet him, her, in the tryst of lovers, and there to commune. So, we'll sing it first with the words, and you don't have them here.
I wonder if instead of that we could teach them the melody first, and then we sing
That's
it
what I figured we're going to do.
without the words there.
Yeah, yeah. So you heard what the words mean, and I'll say them once so you can hear them. Hine hu omed achar kotlenu, mashgiach min hachalonot, meitzitz min hacharakim. Kol dodi dofek, pitchili achoti rayati. Bati legani, achoti kala, ariti mori im divshi, shatiti yeni im besami. Now, never mind, you won't remember that. And unless you are good with Hebrew, like Dorit doesn't have to be told how to sing it. But the rest of you can do very well with Yababas in there. So if you will do Yababas, they'll be just fine. That's Jewish scat. sing it a little softer, and imagine that you are serenading that aspect of the divine that you want to invite and be invited by, okay? Sometimes you sing these things like Hasidim do, with your eyes closed, because that way you're able to allow the imagination in your heart to come in. There is a statement in the Zohar that goes like this: Leit machshava tfisa v'chklal. There is no thought that can take hold of God. Aval, but, nitfas ihu b'reuta deliba. He can be held on to with the willingness of the heart. Okay? So that willingness of the heart is what this melody is supposed to help us achieve. Okay? So
willingness or desire? Is it willingness or desire? It's a question. Ru'uta deliba, is it willingness or desire?
it's a funny word, because the Aramaic would be Reuta is Retzon. It stands for the ayin and the tzaddik. Goes like this. However, if you take...
Ratzon meaning, it's a stronger word. It means will, wish or desire.
It can also mean Re'ud, Ava v'achva shalom v'Re'ud, and then it means the friendship, you know? It's like, it's very hard sometimes to call God king, or to call God sovereign, or even parent, you know?
And then feel intimate.
Right. Re'uta deliba is that kind of thing. It's a closeness, a friendship, it's a willingness, it's a longing, it's got all these things here. And you know what? None of this makes any sense unless you feel it. So see what it is that you feel when you sing this, and we'll do it a little bit not so strong with shouting it out, okay? imagine if I were to have a Verbringen, a Hasidische Verbringen with you. By the way, you're playing so good. It's such a joy. And especially the notes in between that connect the first part with the second part. Thank you, this is wonderful. If we were to have a Hasidische Verbringen, I would say, now let me teach you a little bit of Torah about that. It says, Avonotechem avdilim bein Hashem u'beinechem. Your sins, your disobedience separates you from God. Like there's a wall between us. It's very hard sometimes when a person is trying to break through the wall of their own ego bubble and to be able to feel that we're in touch with God. So sometimes if we can't do it, we have a feeling, oi Gewalt, I'll never get there. But there are two beings involved. On the other side of that bubble, on the other side of that wall, Hinehu omed achar kotlenu. God is behind there waiting for us. And what is God saying? Pitchili, open up, open up. Let it happen, open up, my beloved. And how does that voice do it? It goes knock knock. So knock knock. Who's there? Dofek. Dofek who? Rav Nachman says Dofek is the pulse.
Dofek also means to knock.
It means to knock, but the Hebrew word for pulse is also Dofek. So he says, how do I know where God is? Oh, he says, it's not so far away. Just touch your pulse and you can hear God knocking, as it were, on your heart. Open up, open up. As you also find that, the people who are listening to the Prophet of Islam would pay attention to some of the things that he said, where he said that God is nearer than the vein in your neck. And you hear the pulse, you can feel the pulse here too. That's another way of speaking about the same thing. And what happens afterwards? It says, the anticipation. As we were learning yesterday, one of the commentators says, don't read it, I have come into my garden. My intention is to come into my garden. It uses the past, but it really means the future. Okay? I think that's a good one to remember. A lot of times we use the past and we mean the future. Do you remember? You remember that song? What it was interested in wasn't only to repeat the past, it was trying to anticipate something good for the future. So what is it anticipating? This is not so easy to get into, but if you really trusted me, you might want to tell me what happens in your holy inner garden. Remember, there used to be a good sort of gospelish song. I came to my garden alone when the dew was still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me, and He talks to me, and He calls me His very own. And the world share when we tarry there, no other has ever known. That's such a wonderful sentiment, right? Now, most of the time, we don't want to share what's in our garden. when we were having our first Seder, we were talking about what's going on about this chametz, that you aren't supposed to have any leavening. So, most of the time people talk about chametz is that which makes you puffed up, which the big ego, and so on and so forth. But we got into another meaning of chametz, which has to do with sour. You know, chometz, vinegar, sour. It's a way of saying that kind of cynicism that says, nothing's going to change. The same lousy world tomorrow like it is today. Forget it. You think you're going to get out of Egypt? You won't get out of Egypt. Even if you get out of Egypt, Egypt won't get out of you. You get the idea. There are so many voices like this that speak to us. That's what Pesach is supposed to free us also from. So that's why we don't eat chametz yet.
What's interesting about that kind of sourness is that it's always a protection against disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do when disappointment is the worst that can happen. When that's so devastating that you hold off disappointment that way. Which of course makes it impossible to make a break for freedom.
Or intimacy. You know, how could I share my inner garden with somebody? I remember once hearing this story that sort of devastated me, watching a child brings over to the mother a flower. It's such a beautiful yellow flower, and the mother says it's only a dandelion, you know? The amazement that the child experiences with that yellow flower, the richness of the color and so on and so forth, and says, Mommy, look, I'm so astonished by it. It's so amazing. And if somebody then, by classifying it and putting it down and say it's just a weed, you know? So that's part of the souring, I think, that has soured that kid later on about opening that garden. So when we say, I come to my garden, you know, it is like to be able to be in there. And how beautiful it says that my beloved comes to the garden, Roe Bashoshanim. He is shepherding, or you can say doing friendship stuff among the roses. So it's just very beautiful. So we'll sing it just once more with this, and I will sing it with the words.
Achara
This one is also from that Song of Songs collection, and it goes like this. The lover brags about his beloved, and he says, like all the girls that I've ever met are thorns in comparison to my rose. Kashoshana ben hachochim kein rayati ben habanot. Like a rosebud among the briars, so my love is among the girls. Now, she responds and says,
like an apple tree among the trees of the forest, so is my beloved among the guys.
Get that? So the melody is a very nice one and easy to do, and we'll first learn it how to do it together, and then we'll have the men sing it to the women and the women sing it to the men. Okay? Shoshana ben hachochim kein rayati ben habanot. Let's repeat it. Shoshana ben hachochim kein rayati ben habanot. Katapuach ke'aseyah ke'adod ben habanim. Katapuach
We need to hear a little testosterone here.
Once again. Kashoshana ben hachochim kein rayati ben habanot.
Ben problem is, first of all, there are more women than men. Second of all, the men are more hesitant to sing without the words. The women aren't. So, scat. Ay, 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 ya la la, whatever you do, it's fine without the words.
Let me do it with the English words. Maybe it'll go better. No. Okay. Go. We're gonna do Yababa. Yabba, Yabba, We were singing this one about opening, and you take a look at number 2 on this sheet, which begins with Pitchu li share tzedek avovam odeya. Open unto me the gates of righteousness, let me enter there and thank God. And what happens then? Zeh hashar ladonai tzadikim yavau bo. We're just going to sing both parts with the first line only, okay? Pitchu li share tzedek.
Would you go over how you pronounce that again for people who...
Yeah, so we'll look at the English now, yeah? Pit, not chew. Chewing pits is going to break your teeth. Okay. Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek avovam odeka. Okay? No, yeah, that way, okay? All right. Now, this comes as one of those wonderful songs that Reb Shlomo Karlebach, Olav Shalom, composed. And you can walk into so many synagogues today and people will sing it and you ask them, where does this song come from? And they would say, it's traditional.
It's ancient.
It's ancient. It's as ancient as 1961. 1961. By 62, he already had gone to the Bay Area and started the House of Love and Prayer. It was a wonderful, crazy time in those days. Anybody who ever was there or in Woodstock, those were the days, my friend, etc. Okay, so, Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya. Pitchu li sha'arei tzedek avovam odeya. Somebody comes and says, I think, Zalman, you did wrong. And I figure, but I thought I was right. So before I start getting reactive and say, no, I was right, you are wrong, what would be if the gates of righteousness, the gates of what's right would open up to me? And I would be able to see a little bit better. See, that's what the song can help us do. To say, wait a minute, before I fly off the handle, let me see. When I find out what's really right and what's not so right, I can give thanks to God for straightening me up, for putting me into the right place with things. So that's a good song. I'm going to now take you to another song, the first one on that sheet. And let me translate it first. You are my God, and I thank you. And then it says, you are my God, and I will exalt you. Now, if you hear it in English translation, what's the difference between Eli and Elokai? And the answer is that the first name that's used for God here is God in kindness. You, God, have been kind to me. You kind God. I thank you. You, awesome God, as you manifest in nature, as you manifest in awesome places. Elohim has the same numerical value as the word hateva, nature. You get a sense of when you're overcome by a vastness, looking at the stars and so on and so forth. You can't go so much to, I'm grateful for that, as you would go, I'm blown. You know, my mind is blown by that. So you get the two things. It's a good mantric prayer to sing when you want to place yourself in the presence of God. Eli, and this time I want you to use the words. The words are simple. Eli ata ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka. Let's look at the words again. Eli ata ve'odeka Elohai aromemeka. The melody again is one of those simple things, and it is not trying to distract you from the content, but as you keep on soaking in that melody, it brings you closer to where you want to be, okay? Now, history. Just as I told you before, that the Niggunim Bitchuli Sharit Tzedek was done by Rav Shlomo, this one is sung in Lubavitch at the Rebbe's table at the Seder. And I heard from my master, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak of Lubavitch, who said that this melody was originally composed by the great Rabbi Lev, Yehuda Lev of Prague. So it's been around for quite a while. And it's been used by people. And when you have a melody that's been used for a purpose to place oneself in the presence of God, over all these years, it has taken on some power and some energy. And that's how I'd like you to be able to use it, okay? So here we go. Eli
Because you're going up. Too low. It's too low, but A minor is too high. Try the middle.
When people were thinking back of what was it like when we went up to Jerusalem at the time when the temple was standing. Now, I'm not talking about history right now because, you know, in history you may find sometimes that there was this guy who threw out the money changers from the temple, and some people were fighting there and so on and so forth. But that's not the ideal for which we are hankering. But can you imagine, someone once told me this, how would it be when the Messiah comes, and they were still thinking very much about an individual Messiah. How are we going to handle having the Holy Temple, and what's going to happen to the Dome of the Rock? Does it mean that they have to demolish that before the temple can be? So that person told me, no, that's not the way it's going to be. The temple will arise from the ground and the Dome of the Rock is going to be right on top. And if I can imagine such a situation where it says, my house shall be a house of prayer for all peoples, how wonderful that would be to be able to walk in. There are some people who try to make this happen already. We have a friend in Florida, and she, Majaya, has sort of a pond in the middle of her place. She calls it Kashi Lake. I say it with sighs because people have come there sometimes with AIDS and with cancer, all kinds of fatalities, and have died there. And after cremation, the ashes were put into that Kashi lake. It is surrounded by various altars there. And there is one very beautiful one that was made in the shape of the Ten Commandments and has a little niche. And when we visited there, we brought a shofar and fill in a few things, you know, those things that a Jew would want to use in that place. And a little bit farther is a Hindu altar, and a little bit farther is a Christian altar. Swami Satchitananda in Virginia has a place called the Lotus Place. That too has niches for every tradition. When Hazrat Inayat Khan was designing what he calls universal worship, he makes for every one of the traditions a space there. So what a wonderful thing that would be if we were to be able to meet in such a place. Turns out that there is a monastery in France in a town called Taizé. And sometimes you go by a church and it'll have a sign saying that the Taizé service will be held at in that place. In Taizé, it's not a Roman Catholic monastery. It was done by Brother Rogers, who was a Protestant, but he felt it was very important for people to worship together. So it turns out that there was a man by the name of Père Gélineau. He was a Jesuit, a French Jesuit, who studied the Psalms because that's what the monks are reciting every day in what they call the Holy Office. So what did they find out when he studied the Psalms? Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yahalelucha sela, da-da, da-da, da-da-da, da-da, da-da, da-da. You hear that? It's almost like the chant that Ramdas used to do about Hridaya, the Punyam, Satru, Bina Pranam, or something like this. It has that pa-pam, pa-pam, pa-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da. Now what would be if every language that you translate the Psalms would have the same stressed syllables? So here is someone doing it in Polish, and here is someone doing it in French, and here is someone doing it in Italian, and it all goes pa-pam, pa-pam, pa-pa-da. So then it doesn't matter what language they're using, you know. It would only get confusing if one says pa-pam, the other one says pa-pam, you know. Then it wouldn't go together, but when they're using the same rhythm with the same stress syllables, it's
Then
beautiful.
you can compose the music that they can all sing it at together.
And that's what they did at that Taizé, restructuring the music so it should fit these things. And yeah, beautiful music. So, when I think, what would the temple be like to which we all would like to go? There's a yearning that comes. Oy, if only in my lifetime that could happen. Yehi ratzon milfanecha, may it be thy will, O Lord our God. Sheyibane beit hamikdash. It's over here.
So before last. So to last. Second column.
Right. Right, it's in the smaller
Count
letters.
up 3 from the bottom,
On which side?
on the left side. And
Sheyibane beit hamikdash bimhera biyamenu v'tein chelkenu b'toratecha. And I like that part of the sentence too. Give us our part in your Torah.
it's what he's saying is correct. The typos are the typos.
There's another song, Shegiot mi yavid ministarot nakeni. Forgive me my sins, Salach lanu, etc. At any rate, Sheyibane Beit Hamikdash. So that's the hope to have. And then what do we ask? That each one of the groups in that temple, in that holy place, would receive the Torah that they need. You know, our part in the Torah.
It helps to know that Torah comes from a root that means instruction.
That's right. Thank you. That we would get the instruction that we need. You know, sometimes you get the wrong instruction. What do I mean to say? Imagine if you look at Gautama, the Buddha, sometimes people have taken Lord Buddha and shown him as if he has a belly, you know, big belly, round belly Buddha. That's not the Buddha. That's Hoti, a Chinese deity. He's not the Buddha. If I were the Buddha at the time of my enlightenment, after I've been hanging out with the samanas and fasting and doing all the austerities, you know, you would see someone with a big Adam's apple, you know, thin.
And a lot of ribs.
And a lot of?
Ribs.
Right, right. On the other hand, when they depict Jesus, how do they show him? They usually show him with a lot of ribs, you know, emaciated and so on. But the guy who would say to people, SS, do this in remembrance of me, eat, drink, you know. He wasn't talking so much, he was feeding the people with loaves and fishes, making sure that there wasn't enough wine, I'll make some more wine, bring me the water, I'll make some wine. You know what I'm saying? So, and what did the people accuse him of?
So he was probably plump with curly dark hair.
So they accused him of being a wine-bibber and a glutton. That's what his enemies called him. So I think he had a little beichler there. And I've never seen, in general, a crucifixion that shows him to have a little of a belly. But once in Germany, I saw such a picture. And, you know, that one I really believed that way. Moses is the only one who I like the way they say, with the tablets and he is a somatotonic person, you know, he is very much embodied. What do you believe in? Do this, do that, don't you dare to do this, don't you dare to do that, this is how you do it, okay? Moses. Love one another as I have loved you is the way Jesus talks. There are these noble truths which I will impart to you. Do you see? Each one is a different body type there. Now, if you were to tell someone who says, I need to balance my life, and you would tell the guy who is a cerebrotonic person, big Adam's apple, thin guy, you should sit and meditate, it wouldn't be balancing his life so much. Do you know what I mean? He's used to doing that. So he needs to have a little bit of the other medicine. That's what I mean, that every religion could use a little bit of medicine that it doesn't have at this point. And that's why I'm saying, She'ibane Beit HaMikdash, B'mheira b'yameinu v'tein chelkeinu b'toratecha. You give us our part in your general teaching that you have. And that would be wonderful. So,
could you go into the real root meaning of mikdash? That would help.
good. Many people would say, when we use the word holy, the word sacred, holy, sacred. Well, the English root for holy has something to do with healing. In German, if you want to say the word for savior, you call him the Heiland, the one who brings healing to people. And so there is that holy, wholesome, healing, that kind of thing. At the same time it says, it is so special, and don't you touch it with your, what is it?
With ordinary
Cotton
mind.
picking fingers, right? Ordinary mind, right? Sacred has another sense. Sacred comes from the Latin root sacre, which has both meanings, holy and cursed, which means don't you dare to touch it. If you touch it, you're going to get cursed. You understand? Distance, awe, you get that? Sacred. Now you come to the word in Hebrew, and you have a very curious situation. When people get married, the formula is Hareat Mekudeshet li. You're made Kodesh for me.
So it's the root K-D-Sh, right? That's in the middle of the word Beit HaMikdash, which is the word that translates as the temple. So you're going now into the etymology of the core of that word.
If you go still deeper and older, you come to Akkadian, which is a Semitic language that was way before Canaanite and Hebrew. The ancient Babylonians, the ones in which the myths that were written, the Enuma Elish and the laws of Hammurabi, all that before, uses the word the following way. Kad means to bow down, from which we have in Hebrew kidda. Kidda is going flat on the ground. And the shin at the end is an adjectival shin. So what does the word kadesh come from? That which causes me to go down. You get the idea? The sense before which I will prostrate myself. So what is the word that's being used for a mosque? Masjid. And it also means to bow down, to prostrate yourself. It is the place where you prostrate yourself. You get the idea? That's behind those words. So no, let's sing it. Sheyibane Beit HaMikdash Bimheira Beyameinu V'tein chelkeinu v'toratecha Sheyibane Beit HaMikdash
May the temple be built speedily in our days. Give us our part in its Torah.
Now, there's always that part that goes, ay, you know, that isn't satisfied with this. This is so relaxed and even. But I want it, I want more, right? Get that, I want it deeper. Sheyibane Beit HaMikdash b'mheira beyameinu v'tein chelkeinu v'toratecha 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 So here's what we're going to do. We're soon coming in for a landing. It is now dark outside, and we can count what yesterday was 3, so we can now, I can't say it until we do it, okay? So I begin with the blessing, and before I do the blessing, I have to say something that says, am I ready to do it? Hineni mukhan umezuman, Hineni mukhan umezuman, Hineni mukhan umezuman, lekayem mitzvat aseh, kemo shekatuv batorah, Hineni mukhan umezuman, kemo shekatuv batorah, Hineni mukhan umezuman, Hineni mukhan umezuman, Hineni mukhan umezuman, Hineni mukhan umezuman, lekayem mitzvot aseh, kemo shekatuv batorah, Hineni mukhan umezuman, kemo shekatuv batorah, Hineni mukhan umezuman. I thank you, God, for giving us this commandment in which we can make our days count. Limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi levav chochma. Teach us to number our days, to assign to each day its quality, so that our heart might grow wiser. So I thank you for this commandment, and I say, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat ha'omer. Hayom arba'a yamim la'omer. Today is the 4th day of the Omer. Its quality is the effectiveness of generosity. Netzach shebechesed, the effectiveness of generosity. May it come down for us this way through all the worlds. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. Eyal yedei zeh yushba shefara, yushba shefa shefara bechol ha'olamot. I don't like that when we come to a little break. L'chol ha'olamot. It kills off where we were. Better to go l'chol ha'olamot. And what happens is that inside it goes dum 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 dum. And I want this to be, when you do a mantra, a mantric song, you want the flywheel to continue on the inside. And if you put the brakes on, then it stops. So I'd like to sing it once more. And this time, like a prayer. If someone needs healing, you keep that person in mind when you do Ve'al Yedei Zeh. If there is a place, a troubled place in the world that you want to send it to that. We're going to sing that melody 3 times so that each one of us can do more. You don't have to just find one target if you have several, okay? Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot. Once more, Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot Ve'al Yedei Zeh Yushpa Shefara Yushpa Shefa Shefara Kol HaOlamot. That's what I mean, okay? Every time I go to shul and Ru is there, she makes sure to make announcements. Yeah, you did last time in Bonnet saying that people should come here tonight. And so I'm gonna make a couple of announcements, okay? This week, on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have more Yontiv days. And I don't know, is there gonna be a vigil on Tuesday night? Anywhere?
Very blank looks, I don't think so.
No plans have been made, okay. So sometimes people stay up all night, the night before the 7th day of Pesach, and one of the reasons is they don't want to sleep through the morning time when we cross the sea. And one of the teachings is that what happened when the laws of nature as we know them was set aside and a miraculous order appeared and the children of Israel were able to walk through the Sea of Reeds at that time, and the Egyptians following them, pursuing them, and they were drowned at that point. So it's a day that we still remember for the miracle that occurred to us, and that's a very special time. So people would stay up a whole night because the rabbi said that even a maidservant at the sea saw more of divinity at that time of the crossing of the sea than Ezekiel saw when he saw the wheel way in the middle of the air.
Since we just read that, we should maybe sing that.
The bones?
Ezekiel saw a wheel way up in the middle of the air.
So go ahead. I don't know.
Does anybody know this? Because I only know it partly. Little wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw a wheel, way up in the middle of the air. And the little wheel runs by faith, and the big wheel runs by the grace of God. A wheel within a wheel, way in the middle of the air. Anybody else know that wheel? Way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw a wheel, way up in the middle of the air. And the little wheel runs by faith, and the big wheel runs by the grace of God. A wheel within a wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Last time Ezekiel saw a wheel, way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw a wheel. Some harmonies. Way up in the air. The little wheel runs by faith, big wheel runs by the grace of God. Wheel within a wheel, way in the middle of the air.
And what did we read yesterday when we were learning?
Ezekiel and the bones.
Dum, bones, bones,
Dry bones and bones and bones and dry bones and bones and bones and dry bones. Hear the word of the Lord.
The toe bone is connected to the bone. The bone is connected to the... These things. So that's what we read yesterday. And on Tuesday we're going to be, on Wednesday morning we're going to be reading that. On Thursday will be Yizkor, just to say the memorial prayer. And I understand that Reb Tirza will be conducting a Yizkor service at?
5.
At 5 at her house, yes?
On Thursday, okay. At Bonnet, in all probability, it'll be, the davening begins at 9 o'clock on Thursday morning. And if you want to come for Yizkor, about 10:15 is a good time to be there for that. It's good to be able to remember at that point the people who went before us and say some prayers for them and try and commune with them, and that's what's going to happen at that time. Some people keep only 7 days of Pesach, and some people keep 8 days of Pesach. Even the people who keep 8 days of Pesach make the 8th day a little bit easier than the 7 before. So, and what happens on Thursday night? Everybody goes out for pizza. Because we haven't had any leavened dough all during this time, so there's this eagerness to go ahead and do that.
There's a Boulder variant, they go to noodles.
So you can go wherever is good for you to go. And I wish you all to have a good conclusion for
I
the
feel an announcement coming through. Okay, I just have to say, if you can possibly come to Bonnet Shalom, 1527 Cherryvale, right down there, on Wednesday morning at 9 and Thursday morning at 9, Rabbi Zalman will lead services. And I have to say, on last week, on Wednesday, when Rabbi Zalman asked Hashem, please, to switch us from Geshem to Tal, from the rain to the dew. When Rabbi Zalman speaks like this, when he leads services, I mean, you've seen him there, if you've never seen him lead services, he brings the shefa down. It so lifts everyone. It so touches my heart when he does this, that I just hope that you don't miss this. And I've also heard Rabbi Zalman lead Yizkor. When he leads Yizkor, inside my heart and in all the parts of me, I'm able to begin to make tikkun, repair, of those relationships of those who have passed beyond. So it's not just remembering them, it's repairing my relationship with them. By the grace of Hashem and by the unbelievable ability that Reb Zalman has of bringing the shefa down into our hearts. There isn't anything like it. Please don't miss it.
So have a good night.
You were going to say Kaddish.
Yes, Kaddish, please.
If anybody is in the year of mourning or the anniversary of the death of a relative, stand for Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועולמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחי יכון וביום יכון, ובחי לכל בית ישראל בהגלה וזמן קריב עמו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולם היה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשי בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעולמה ועמו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיים וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you.
And have a good night.
Thank you.